everyone, this is Tony from Her Homestead Skills. I hope everyone's well. I think maybe some of you have noticed that I have taken a little bit of a break from prepping foods, and a lot of that is because I've already probably put away as much as I need to put away, and would just need to be replenishing ongoing supplies at this point. But I haven't given up putting up foods and making jams and doing all kinds of things, so I will get back to that. I just needed a little break from it. So I am doing a few other little things. Today I made more meatballs, another batch of meatballs, and I do that to make Mark's job easier in the kitchen. He still is doing the majority of the cooking. He still enjoys doing it. It gives him something to do in the home. And I do a lot of the prep work for him to make it easy. So that's done. So yes, I think that there's enough meatballs there for at least another 6 or 7 meals. So, and we eat those pasta and meatballs, whether it's homemade pasta and gnocchi or dried pasta. We'll have those as one of the meals when we really don't feel like doing a lot of cooking. We can put a pasta dinner together in half an hour, 40 minutes. So I go, like I say, I try to make it fairly simple and easy for them. All the ingredients are there. It's a matter of just frying up the onions and the garlic and the meat, and then putting in the tomato puree that I make, and pot of water on the stove for the pasta, and there you go. You've got that. A little bit of grinding fresh Parmesan cheese, and you've got an awesome meal. And when I've got salad fixings in the house, well, then there's a salad on the side as well, but not always. Anyway, I have, as I said, that's done this morning. That was my one job that I wanted to do, but I've done a few videos on making meatballs, so I really didn't videotape that one this time. And I decided at that point that the weather was just too awesome today to stay inside and do too much in the kitchen, so I did go out. I did not bother going to the thrift store. I did run a few errands. I went to Dollarama, picked up a few things for the, for the kitchen. Spatulas and a pair of scissors and things of that nature, and that is one place to get these things fairly inexpensively. Checked on canning lids, and they have canning lids. They still have a good supply, but so do I, so I didn't pick up any today. As a matter of fact, I think last year I overdid it. Probably have enough now for 2 years at least, but that's okay. And I also decided to go to my garden. I haven't been there in over a month, and I miss it. And it was nicer when I could just step out the door and see my garden all year round. But that's okay. I did step out there, checked out my garden as well as other people's garden, and my own. Yeah, it's a little desolate. It's that time of year. There were a few things. I did get some more calendula seeds because there were some flowers that had bloomed, and there were still a few blooming. But there were also some that went to seed, and I thought I'd collect them before they dropped. So come February, March, I will plant those and hopefully put out a whole bunch of little plants throughout the whole garden. So what else did I do? Oh yes, some sage. I trimmed some sage plants, so hopefully I will be able to root those as well. And I just walked by other people's gardens, and some have got them cleaned up for the winter, and others look like they haven't even been touched, so that they will just leave them for the birds and for whatever critters come looking for whatever they can find. So anyway, I was quite surprised last year, or this spring, that because I had ground cover cloth in quite a bit of my garden, there was a lot of rabbit poop, which, yeah, is not a bad thing to have. My last video, I kind of asked what people would do if hit the fan. And yeah, that is a tricky question, isn't it? It's one that a lot of us do prepare for quietly. And it's one that we hope never happens. Okay? And do I expect it to happen? Some people think we're in the midst of it already. Some people don't even notice it's happening. We know that the winter's going to be very tough, very tough. And even if all hell doesn't break loose, it's going to be a difficult winter for a lot of people. Trying to heat their homes, trying to drive to work. So, we'll see what happens. We have to try and get through it. Now, what is the rest of the world doing? Just keep an eye on them, because everything that they do will affect us. And it isn't getting any easier out there. Yes, I have heard that China is telling Russia not to use nukes. Good old China. They don't believe in war either, unless it's an economic one. I don't know, those two. Everyone's got their own agendas, and so do we. It would appear as though Israel has had a new election, Brazil has had a new election, the states are about to have a new election. Who else is there? Anyway, lots of changes. Oh, and if Iran, who the heck knows what's going to happen there? Doesn't seem to be subsiding. It doesn't, just everyone's getting to be more brutal. And anyway, that is one to keep an eye on. Russia and Ukraine and China with their... don't know what's going to happen with China either. Okay, so I thought, well, what should I do? I'm back now. I've done my bit of shopping. I've visited my garden. Oh yes, and I did stop by the grocery store. And I found it depressing, so I left. I really didn't buy anything. I didn't need anything. So I looked at all the price increases. I looked at the price of garlic, and that's gone up $1 a pound. But I'm hoping not to buy garlic at all next year. I'm hoping that I have planted enough, that I will have enough to plant and to grow and to use all year round. We'll see. You can never be self-sufficient. Even if you have your own farm and you raise your own animals, and there's always something that you're going to have to buy. You can't grow your own coffee. Well, maybe some can, but sugar, coffee, salt, a lot of your condiments, cheeses. I mean, the Parmesan cheese that I buy is a 25-year-old Parmesan. I don't think I could make that. I could make some mild cheese, but it's not the same thing. So there's always some things that we have to buy. And not just in foods. But you want to be able to be as self-sufficient as possible, and to perhaps learn how to barter again. Okay, so I thought, well, what can I do with myself today? Keep busy, to do something, to be productive. And I thought, well, okay, maybe I could make some polenta. And I could spare Mark having to make dinner tonight. And I do have some nice sausages that I could make with that and make a nice sauce with it, so perhaps I can do that. And the other thought that came to mind was, oh yes, Christmas is just around the corner. And I should really be thinking about making some fruit cake. Now, I have made fruit cake for the last 2 years in a row, and one time before then, quite a while back. But I have found that it really goes well here. People really enjoy it. So even my daughter, who was like, oh no, fruit cake, and I said, well, you haven't tried homemade fruit cake, hon. And I gave her some, and she was pleasantly pleased and surprised at how yummy it was. So I have to think about making one large batch. I'm not going to do 2 batches. Last year I made 2 batches, but I won't do it this year. Fruit cake is actually fairly expensive to put together, but it's a treat that you make once a year. So why not? Okay, and yeah, it's probably the time of year to make it, and that way it gives it some time to age a little bit. So I will be putting an ingredients list together and looking for the items that I need to do that. But that's not today, so that will be sometime down the road. And I do have a few videos where I show the recipes for and how I made the fruit cake. So I don't know if I'll be bothering to film that. I may just film the finished result. So anyway, things are going well. I'm just taking a little bit of a break, and I hope that you do too. Now, as far as being ready for whatever comes your way, nobody's ever ready for whatever comes your way, but you can try to minimize the effects of what's coming at you. Yeah. And I find that facing issues head on is always easier for me than hiding from them or pretending they don't exist. When there's a problem, I do try to face it head on, do try to come up with a solution. Not always successfully, but better for me to know that I've tried to do something rather than hoping it would just go away. I find that issues don't just go away. Unless you deal with them, they just keep coming back and coming back and coming back, because you are meant to deal with them. You're meant to learn from situations, and once you've learned how to deal with it, you don't seem to have that issue to deal with anymore. So that has been my experience. So, okay, never dealt with hunger. I hope I never have to. So I'm doing my best to make sure that doesn't happen. Although I'm not a big eater, I can do with eating very little. I'm not a heavy person, never have been. I have accustomed myself for many years to just eating 1 meal a day. I don't anymore, but I could go back to that. It might take a little bit of a stretch, or just have smaller meals, and that's okay too. So that doesn't worry me. I think I have more than enough to last. It's just, it might bore me. What I do have might be boring. Try to make it as pleasant as possible. And yes, folks, it's not just food, but you do need food. You can do without a lot. I always did without paper towels. I use paper towels now. But that was one thing that I thought was quite wasteful, because I could use a cloth that I could wash over and over and over and over. When my first 2 children were small, I used cloth diapers. And I'll admit that the disposables are so much more convenient. And I did use disposables with my last, but if you have to, you can go back to cloth diapers. And yes, it's not as nice, A lot more work. But there were even services. Well, I don't know that I do that. I prefer to wash them myself. I know what they're washed with. Anyway, there are things that you can do to bring down the cost of living, and it isn't just by hurting your grocery list. I'll tell you, that's something that I grew up with pretty much having nothing. Our family had nothing. If my family did without a lot of things, they always found a way not to do without food. And I think that was from their own experiences when they were young, that they may have had times where they did without food. So I think that's when people will get ugly. As long as there's food on the shelves, they'll be fine. Mind you, I stopped by the drugstore today and I saw some empty shelves for medications. Again. So once again, we're in short supply for some meds. I didn't bother to take pictures. It's happening though. Stock up on what you need, especially if you have small children. This is Tony from Her Homestead Skills. I hope you enjoyed this video and hope to see you on the next one. Bye for now.